The triangular-shaped deltoid is located on the cap of the shoulder. The origin of the deltoid, which is interestingly enough identical to the insertion of the trapezius, curves around the spine of the scapula and clavicle, forming a V shape. And from this broad origin, the fibers converge down the arm to attach at the deltoid tuberosity.
The deltoid's a great muscle to start with because it's totally accessible right here on the cap of the shoulder. So I could do this supine or prone or side lying, but I like seated because you can really access all sides of the muscle. So let's begin by seeing this muscle engage. I'm just going to ask my partner to go ahead and try to abduct your arm against my resistance. Oh, that's great. And there we see a fabulous example of the deltoid. Here's that posterior edge, and there we can see that anterior edge there. And you really get a sense of the convergent fibers all funneling down to that deltoid tuberosity. Good. Go ahead and relax. Now let's locate some of the landmarks that really isolate where the deltoid is. First, I'm going to find this attachment here at the top of the shoulder, where they sort of form a V here at the top. And the first side of that is going to be the spine of the scapula. This is that superficial ridge of bone that sort of runs up to the top of the shoulder. And notice I'm not poking him with my finger. No, I'm just using a nice set of broad finger pads to really differentiate the edge of that bone. And then it ends right here at the acromion, at the top of the shoulder. And then the deltoid's attachment continues here onto that lateral portion of the clavicle. And again, there's that shape of that attachment. Then all of those fibers come down and attach at that deltoid tuberosity. And if you ever get confused of exactly where the deltoid tuberosity is, you can divide the arm in half. Pretty much right there at the halfway point is where that sort of small, subtle sort of mound of bone on the side of the humerus is located. And that's the other attachment for the deltoid. Great. So now that I know that all of this is the deltoid and it's completely superficial, I can just get my fingers on it here, just grasp it and lift it up off the arm. There we go. And you can really roll your fingers across its fibers and follow them again right down as they converge at the tuberosity. Good. Now let's just take a moment to differentiate a few things. I'm going to ask my partner to just go ahead and try to flex your arm that way and a little bit out to the side. Great. And there we can see the line that divides the deltoid from the pectoralis major. That's called your deltopectoral groove. And so here we've got those anterior fibers of the deltoid, and there we have the pectoralis major. Good. Here we have the edge of the biceps brachii. There we can even see some of the triceps. Great. And relax. Because the deltoid is an antagonist to itself, here's a fun little thing you can do. I'm just going to ask my partner to just go ahead and try to flex his shoulder. So he's going to try to swing his arm that way. Great. So flexion engages these, the anterior fibers of the deltoid, and they're clearly engaged. But the posterior fibers back here are totally relaxed. They're not doing anything. And now conversely, if I ask him to go ahead and try to extend at the shoulder, there we go. Well, now the posterior fibers are contracting, but the anterior fibers are not doing anything. So it's just a fun way you can see how the deltoid, being a convergent muscle, is really an antagonist to itself, and how when one part of it engages, the other part has to relax. And finally, if I wanted to shorten the anterior fibers of the deltoid, I can passively flex the shoulder like so, even medially rotated, which conversely lengthens the posterior fibers. And if I want to shorten the posterior fibers, I can extend the shoulder, which then, of course, lengthens the anterior fibers. And if I wanted to shorten the entire deltoid, I can passively abduct the shoulder, and then to lengthen it, of course, I can adduct the shoulder.